Hello, my name is Liubov Boiarskaia. I graduated from the Russian State Institute of Performing Arts in Saint Petersburg. I hold a master's degree in art and was also a former postgraduate student at the same institute. Uh, my dissertation focused on theatrical productions of Ingmar Bergman's film scripts, and today I'd like to share some findings of my research with you. Um, After Ingmar Bergman's death on July the 30th in 2007 at the age of 89, his creative works continue to resonate with people of different generations and beliefs worldwide. While he is primarily recognized as a film director, his works for theater started gaining popularity after his passing, although they had been staged since the 1990s. Nowadays, Bergman's plays are in demand, and his texts have rightfully found their place in the global theatrical landscape with over 300 performances staged worldwide based on his works. I decided to call my lecture today Ingmar Bergman Between Stage and Screen after the title of the famous book by Scandinavian scholar Egil Törnqvist. This title reflects the fact that Bergman proved himself as a director in almost all types of theater and film arts. His legacy includes 77 feature films and television films, 171 performances, including radio plays and operas, and he wrote more than 300 scripts, plays, stories, and articles. Between almost all of Bergman's works created for theater, film, television, and radio, we can find connections and mutual influences. Uh, Throughout almost his entire life, Bergman divided his work into two seasons. In the winter, he created theatrical spectacles, and in the summer, he made films often featuring the same actors. Uh, Max von Sydow, Alan Edwall, B.B. Anderson, Gunnel Lindblom, Gunnar Bjornstrand, Liv Ullmann, Erland Josephson, Harriet Anderson, and Ingrid Thulin. Well, these are just a few of the actors and actresses who collaborated with Bergman, and many of them achieved worldwide recognition. Um, in 1944, Bergman wrote his first screenplay for the film Thirst, directed by Alf Sjöberg. He made his directorial debut in 1946 with the film Crisis. You can see a shot of from this film on the screen. So, Crisis was based on a Danish play called Maternal Instinct by Lek Fischer, and which he adapted into a script. His film career concluded in 1982 with his final feature film, a genius one, uh, Funny and Alexander. Funny and Alexander, as I hope all of you saw the film, and if you didn't uh, see the film, for some reason, I highly recommend you to watch it. It's a cinematic masterpiece. Another era of Bergman's directing was radio plays. Area of Bergman's directing was radio plays, but we're not going to talk about it today. I just want to mention that most of the radio plays he created during the 1940s and 1950s. And in the 50s, he also explored the realm of television, directing several television plays based on the works of other authors, first of all, such as Mr. Schliemann is Coming. That was one of his first television works, with young B.B. Anderson in one of the main roles. You can see here young B.B. Anderson. And Mr. Schliemann is coming is a composition written by famous Swedish writer Hjalmar Bergman. So Bergman made a telefilm based on his story. In 1973, Ingmar Bergman released the series titled "Scenes from a Marriage," marking his first foray into color television miniseries with 6 episodes. By the way, I have a lecture dedicated to the story of creation of Scenes from a Marriage, and I hope that one fine day I can share my lecture with you. So, Scenes from a Marriage in 1973. Following that, he directed Fanny and Alexander as another mini-series of 4 episodes, which, like Scenes from a Marriage, later became a well-known film. Um, Autobiographical elements became more prominent in Bergman's films, particularly after Fanny and Alexander, as he delved into his family's history. These films, autobiographical films, were either directed by Bergman himself or by other directors for television. His final television work was the film Saraband in 2003. That was his final television film and uh, just the last film in general in Bergman's life. So, Saraband in 2003, you can see episode shot from this film on the screen. Saraband notably became the only Bergman film shot using a digital camera. However, Bergman's true passion has always resided in the theater. He once remarked, I'm more of a theater person than a cinema person. Bergman's directorial journey began, so he started as a director in 1938 with an amateur performance at Church Youth Center, where he presented Sultan Vane's play Outward Bound. Even then, he garnered acclaim as a promising director, and his name began to grace the pages of newspapers. In 1939, he staged a production of Strindberg's Lucky Paris Journey. At his experimental theater, the Master Olof's Garden Theater, with notable figures such as uh, Bertolt Brecht in audience. So Bertolt Brecht attended that spectacle, and he actually was very happy to see it. And he praised the performance and especially the acting. So Bergman was flattered by Bertolt Brecht's compliments about that his first amateur theater production. Bergman's final work for theater took place in 2002 in Dramaten, where he directed Perennial August in Ibsen's Ghosts in the role of Fru Alving. You can see uh, Perennial August here in the role of Fru Alving. Um, Bergman often likened cinema to a mistress and theater to a faithful wife. At the same time, Bergman frequently argued that there was much in common between his work in the theater and his work in cinema. In 1963, during an interview with Vilgot Schumann, a young Swedish director and critic at the time, Bergman admitted that his films were simply the quintessence of what he did in the theater. He highlighted a direct connection between some of his films and their sources of inspiration, which were the plays of the great classics that he staged in the theater. For instance, there were connections between the film "The Magician" in 1958 and the play "Six Characters in Search of an Author," which he staged in 1953 in Malmö City Theatre. Also, there were connections between the series Scenes from a Marriage and the play Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf in 1963 in Dramaten, as well as Strindberg's Dance of Death, which Bergman rehearsed several times but never staged. Also, we can find connections between the so-called road movies, The Seventh Seal and Wild Strawberries, with Strindberg's trilogy On the Way to Damascus and Ibsen's drama Per Gynt. Generally, traveling or journey became a significant plot and compositional device for Bergman, acting as a catalyst between the present and the past, between imaginary and real values. For many years, Bergman staged plays, which means that he was constantly thinking about a play, living in thoughts about its production. Many of the plays left their mark on his films. Uh, Despite Bergman's lesser interest in Russian playwrights, his directorial repertoire includes works like Gogol's radio play The Gamblers in 1959, so that was a radio play, The Gamblers, and Ostrovsky's Without a Dory, and he staged it in 1956 in Malmö Theater. And the name of the spectacle was The Poor Bride, which conveys actually the sense, the meaning of that drama. Uh, Gunnar Lindblom, renowned for her roles in Bergman's films like Silence and Virgin Spring and some other films, she portrayed Larissa Agodalova, a main female character. You can see her here on the in the photos, in the pictures. Uh, in and well, Max von Sydow portrayed Paratov, main male character. Bergman transformed Ostrovsky's drama into a comedy, uh, while it was full, uh, absolute, perfect drama. So, but he transformed drama into a comedy by presenting diverse male characters, possibly influenced Bergman possibly was influenced by the ongoing work on the comedy film Smash of a Summer Night. Critics argued that Bergman distorted the Russian classic and imposed his own interpretation on the audience. Uh, we can discern echoes of Chekhov's plays in Bergman's works. It is widely known that Bergman directed two Chekhov's productions, The Seagull in 1961 at Dramaten, and Three Sisters in 1978 at the Residence Theatre in Munich. Both performances received mixed reviews from critics and audiences. While Bergman admired Chekhov and stressed the importance of a cohesive acting ensemble, he considered these attempts unsuccessful and never pursued further Chekhovian productions. Uh, Here you can see the quotation from the book Bergman and Bergman. So Bergman says that was very unsuccessful. At the time, I was so very confused, and the girl who played Nina, uh, her name, the actress name is Christina Shalin, was a very talented young girl, but she was not very experienced. If only one actor in Chekhov's play is not on the same level, the whole thing falls to pieces. So you can see that Arkadina was played by one of the famous actresses, Bergman's actresses in 50s, 60s, Eva Dalbeck. She played Irina Arkadina, and Nina was presented, as I have already mentioned, by Christina Shalin. Nonetheless, certain elements and character traits reminiscent of Chekhov's plays can be detected in some of Bergman's own dramas. Thus, Here you can see also one photo from the German production in Residence Theatre, Three Sisters. It was also a bit unsuccessful play, criticized by critics a lot. Um, but Swedish film critic Egil Törnqvist writes in his book The Muses of Bergman. The connection between The Seagull, directed by Bergman in 1961, and the film Through a Glass Darkly, presented in the same year, is quite obvious. In Chekhov's play, an actress mother comes to the estate, having left her son in the care of her brother and not sharing his literary ambitions. I mean, her son literary ambitions. Her son is a young writer, but she laughs at him. She doesn't trust him, so she doesn't value his literary talent. And in Bergman's film, a father comes to the island, a famous writer. He is a famous writer, but deprived of the ability to love his children, and uses the diaries of his mentally ill daughter as a material for his novel. So you can see here the a picture from the film. The female character is a mentally sick young lady. She was played by Karin Anderson. Her name is Karin, and her father, renowned Swedish writer, he plays writer Gunnar Bjornstrand plays her father, and so Karin's husband, Martin, played by Max von Sydow, says to David, to her father, "Your um, your callousness is simply bright. You hunt for new ideas. Your own daughter's insanity is a great plot for a new book." And this is from the Through a Glass Darkly. Uh, and in Chekhov's The Seagull, as you may recall, there is also a writer, Boris Trigorin, who is Arkadina's lover and who also seeks inspiration in everything, even in the fate of the young lady Nina Zarechna, whom he himself destroyed. So you can see the echoes of Chekhov's lines in Bergman's script. Trigorin, famous writer, says to young um, girl Nina Zarechna, the plot for the short story: a young girl lives all her life on the shore of a lake. She loves the lake like a gull, and she's happy and free like a gull. But a man arrives by chance, and when he sees her, he destroys her out of sheer boredom, like this gull. Uh, Another Bergman film, uh, Cries and Whispers, has been frequently compared to Three Sisters by numerous commentators. The renowned French film director François Truffaut once noted that while Cries and Whispers commences like Three Sisters and concludes similar to the Cherry Orchard, it otherwise bears semblance to one of Strindberg's plays. So François Truffaut says that Cries and Whispers starts as Three Sisters and ends as the Cherry Orchard, and in between we can see some, Strindbergian motives. um, a direct parallel can be also drawn between Bergman's highly acclaimed work among theater directors, Autumn Sonata, and Strindberg's play The Pelican. In both instances, the theme of guilt remains prominent not only within this play but also in Bergman's works in general. Bergman inherits this motive from his esteemed predecessors, Ibsen and Strindberg. Autumn Sonata, in this sense, echoes Strindberg's The Pelican, wherein the mother's realization of guilt towards her children occurs only at the tragic culmination. Certain lines and dialects may even be directly quoted by Bergman in the Sonata from The Pelican. So you can see here, Liv Ullmann plays daughter, and Ingrid Bergman plays the mother. Uh, we can read in Bergman's script. Charlotte, the mother's name, she says to Eva, her daughter, "You created my portrait out of hatred, but does it look like me?" They, the parents, regarded us children with surprised benevolence, but without any warmth or real interest. I can't remember either of them ever having touched me or my brothers. Actually, I was completely ignorant of everything to do with love, tenderness, contact, intimacy, warmth. And here we can read some similar lines in Strindberg's Pelican. Elise says to her daughter Gerda, "Do you know about my childhood? Do you have any idea what a bad home I had, what wickedness I learned there? So don't blame me, then I won't blame my parents, who could blame theirs, and so on." Despite the influence of Strindberg, Autumn Sonata also exhibits Chekhovian characteristics. Theater expert and historian Irina Tsimbal, in one of her articles, compares Ingrid Bergman's portrayal of the renowned pianist Charlotte Andergast to a combination of Chekhov's Irina Arkadina from The Seagull and Lyubov Boiarskaia from The Cherry Orchard. So Charlotte Andergast is a mix of Irina Arkadina and Ranevskaya, according to Irina Tsimbal statement. Um, Now let's delve into the topic of Bergman and Strindberg. As I have mentioned before, Strindberg holds a significant place in the directors in the Bergman's works. Ingmar first encountered his place at the age of 12, and Strindberg became the most profound literary experience of his life. In the early 1940s, Bergman pursued his studies at the Stockholm High School, which was previously known as the Stockholm University. While at the university, Bergman passionately attended the classes of Martin Lamb, a renowned expert on Strindberg's works. However, Bergman dedicated the majority of his time to his involvement in amateur theatres, and his academic studies took on a merely formal nature. Among Bergman's theater groups, Strindberg's plays held the foremost position in their repertoire. Bergman didn't complete his university studies, but his passion for theater and drama, particularly his admiration for Strindberg, endured throughout his life. In his book, Bergman and Bergman, he expresses a deep admiration, stating, the quotation, "He, Strindberg, spoke about what I myself felt, but could not express in words." This helps us understand why Bergman was drawn to directing for the stage and film, as these mediums provided a means for him to convey his emotions through visual and sound elements rather than relying solely on his written words. Despite claiming in his essay in 1916 that he never aspired to be a writer, Bergman had already composed and published several prose and dramatic works by that time. Some of them were even staged. So, saying that he was clearly disingenuous. Um, Bergman said, I myself never aspired to become a writer. I don't want to write novels, stories, essays, biographies, even plays. I just want to make films. Cinematography, with its complex birth process, is my method of reaching people. I'm a filmmaker, not a writer. But as I have already mentioned, that saying that he was a bit disingenuous because actually some of his works, plays, were published and even staged. But I suggested that we continue discuss this further in our next conversations. I hope you found this lecture interesting. I would appreciate your comments, questions, and support such as likes and subscribing to my channel. Goodbye.